To me, Assault on the Control Room is Halo 1's best and worst level.
I can see it.
It's the first time the game really opens up and gives you a massive section of open space, open land, lots of enemies to fight, lots of different configurations of enemies, and it gives you new vehicles, it introduces new enemy vehicles, and it's very complex, there's a lot going on. But that's not all of the mission. The rest of the mission is Halo's level design at its worst. Corners, hallways, arrows on the floor to tell you which way to go because there are no other landmarks. There's no differentiation in environments. We will go through the same room 7 times. Here it is. This is the level.
At its worst.
Yeah, but we're gonna be seeing a lot of this central little octagonal room, octagonal, whichever one you prefer.
Which, now that we talk about it, it occurs to me that this is also maybe a copy-paste from the second stage. This little bridge thing.
Yeah, it's certainly the same bridge over Infinite Pit. And
the Covenant presence here is stronger than I anticipated. They seem to have the entire region secured.
Fascinating, Cortana. But yeah, here we go. Arrows on the floor to tell us where to go.
90-degree angles. We gotta conceal the assets we're loading in.
Interesting. The weather patterns here seem natural, not artificial. I wonder if the ring's environment systems are malfunctioning, or if the designers wanted the installation to have infinite weather.
This is Fire Team Zulu requesting immediate assistance from any UNSC forces. Does anyone copy? Over.
I didn't think there were any human forces left on this part of the ring.
Cortana to Fire Team Zulu. I read
Oh.
you.
Okay.
Fire Team Zulu, this is Cortana. Hold position. We're on our way.
I'm dead.
Roger that.
Oh dear.
Make it quick.
So, a lot to unpack in that quick little exchange. First things first. Weather patterns seem deliberate, designed. Well, I mean, the structure's definitely artificial. So, that's a
Suggesting
safe
that
bet.
they don't have a way to control the weather is odd, considering this doesn't actually seem big enough to have its own proper climate like the Ring World did. If you want to just back up into those hallways so I can respawn.
Ah, right. I thought you had for some reason. So,
Thank you.
there we go. Halo's co-op respawning. So yeah, it's odd. The ring world's small. It certainly wouldn't be able to generate its own weather patterns naturally. And then there's her comment about, you know, not thinking that there were any humans left on this part of the ring. So remember when we discussed, you know, organizing a resistance, setting up a forward operating base, that sort of thing?
I sure do.
That sure is an aspect of this story that we're just never really shown.
Yeah.
And it keeps, you know, rearing its head every now and then. Like, what are the logistics of all these pelicans flying around? Who's refueling them? Do they need refueling?
Well, it's interesting because we left the last level by going into a big tube. She said that Cortana said that there's like tunnels honeycombing the entire Halo. Okay, fair, whatever. But we went down one and then we came up another, and
well,
we don't know how.
That's what I was getting at.
We don't know how far we've traveled. We don't. Oh, there's a sword command here.
In the previous episode, when I said they cheat the spatial relation a bit,
Died twice
that
already.
is what Uh, oh dear. You're
I'm bad at video
you're
games.
really not making. Yeah, you're not making yourself look like an epic gamer in front of the whole world here. They cheat. That's what I was referring to. They cheat the spatial relations. That specific introduction, where they go, "Oh yeah, tunnels, honeycomb the halo," and then all of a sudden you're in a big snowy canyon. When you were on a tropical, well, maybe not tropical, but an island in the middle of a very vast body of water.
We were on an island in the middle of an ocean, and because Cortana says that this isn't natural, we can presume that we're not at a pole. There is no such thing on the inside of a ring, but I imagine something would have been designated as such. We can't even see the ring from up here, so we're like underground still, maybe? That this issue right here is one of the gearbox port problems, so we're not going to comment on that. But we don't know how far we've come since the last level. We don't know. We don't know. That's it.
No, and that's we had our big long talk about that at the end of the second stage, and here is where like you really get to see what we were talking about. They really don't connect these stages. They don't even try, and you're never really given anything to go off of aside from what you're told to sort of hand wave it away. But, you know, we've spoken a lot about that, so setting that aside, what I was going to say before, you know, we had to get on that point, it does bear mentioning that because, you know, we're playing this on modern PC hardware, that we don't get to experience the pauses for the game to load that were in the original release. I don't know if the PC port had those, but I don't know, maybe it still did.
I did play
yeah.
through this in 2003, and I don't remember any mid-mission loading screens or anything.
I played the original on the Xbox quite a few times, so a lot of the pauses to load are kind of burned into my brain. So you know how I made my little comment about how the 45-degree angle hallways are so you can disguise loading the assets?
Yeah.
Yeah, the game stops to load in those hallways.
I'm not surprised.
No.
So, down we go. You saw we were on a bridge earlier, there was like a terrain bit down, and I guess that's where we're going.
Ground floor.
And you thought Mass Effect was the first game to use absurdly long elevators to disguise loading?
These doors are pretty neat though, with the glass.
Yeah.
Not groundbreaking, but neat.
And the actual answer for elevators for loading is, earliest I can say for sure is System Shock 1.
Oh, absolutely.
The central elevator going to the different floors of Citadel Station.
Oh, I made a friend.
Oh. How lovely. So, there are minor differences between this room and the last and the one before that, but they're the same. They serve the same purpose of funneling you along the outside. Maybe you have a fight on the inside. And then you follow the arrows.
It's funny because there's a... excuse me. There's a criticism that I've seen leveled at Halo. And, well, shocking, I know, there are people that criticize this game.
Other than us?
Yeah, so people say that, you know, Bungie aren't so great on level design. And there's a lot of evidence for that. I would say there's plenty of examples of pretty solid level design from Bungie as well, but that's beside the point. A criticism I've seen levied against the Bungie is that they tend to like design multiplayer arenas and then stitch them together, and that's their campaigns. Which...
I would agree, except I'd argue that Halo 1's multiplayer levels are far more visually interesting than anything in the single player.
See, that's the thing. I don't think it's particularly fair to throw that at Halo 1. Although those little connective rooms, I would certainly say, kind of feel like little multiplayer arenas that they maybe prototyped and decided to use. Remember, development of this game was pretty rushed.
Yeah.
Hey, what's that big blue thing?
So we're outside, and actually I have proven myself wrong here. I said we saw the ghosts before the wraiths. They do show up in the same level. I thought the ghosts showed up on Silent Cartographer for some reason.
So, here it is, an introduction to, well, technically 2 new enemy types. They're vehicles, but wow, you are just having a bad day.
Halo is not liking the things I'm saying about it.
It's getting its revenge. But yeah, 2 new enemy types. They're vehicles, so you can drive them. Well, you drive one of them. But you got your ghost, which is your quick little zippy hovery boy that peppers you with plasma fire to, you know, mixed effect. And then you have the Wraith, which, you know, we saw one of them earlier on in the Truth and Reconciliation. But now we actually get to see and find out what the heck it was, because look, it's
a
big
an
old
artillery
hover scooter.
big artillery platform.
It's
Very
one of those
effective.
it's one of those plasma shooting bugs from the Starship Troopers movie.
Oh, you mean that terrible piece of film that both managed to make the same point as the book while being smug about it and miss the entire point of the book?
Yeah. So to our dear viewers, Reckon is not a fan of the Paul Verhoeven Starship Troopers movie.
No, I am not. I think well, I just gave you my opinion on it. Paul Verhoeven was very publicly proud that he never finished reading Starship Troopers because he wanted his movie to then be a comment about how bad fascism was, and it's like, man, Paul, if you'd read the book, maybe you would have realized that the book is also a comment about how bad fascism is. Johnny Rico is not a hero. He's a person used and abused by a system that convinced him it was the right choice to make. And it wasn't. Anyway, this is a video about Halo.
Well, hey, Halo's got a lot of Starship Troopers in its DNA as well. Let's not mince words here. It's not one of its main influencers. Yeah, no, like the book, probably not. The movie, definitely.
I'll also never forgive Paul Verhoeven for turning the Space Marines' power armor into some flak vests. Which, I mean, maybe that's also me falling prey to, wow, cool power armor, because if you've not read the opening of Starship Troopers, it opens... Sorry, if you've not read Starship Troopers, it opens with the Space Marines doing an orbital drop onto a planet full of aliens, which they then fight, and their power armor has things such as shoulder-mounted nuclear rocket launchers.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
And it's very much a, like, yeah, celebrate how awesome the military is to get you in the same mindset as Johnny Rico, being impressed by this stuff. So you buy into it, and then the things his commanders are spouting are like, yeah, capital punishment is the best. Everybody should use capital punishment on children. And Johnny Rico's like, that seems suspicious. Oh, aren't you an American?
You know, I don't know. Satire seems to get lost in the sauce for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's so weird because, again, the movie is like, oh, it's this biting takedown of fascism. It's like, it made the same points as the book. Please realize this.
Yeah.
Johnson,
please.
you're pathfinding here. Do you want me to help you?
So, we've digressed. We have been introduced to some fun new toys, some interesting new mechanics, and more diegetic item placement. So, Reckon here has boarded the Scorpion main battle tank.
Yeah, let's take a look again at the manual, because we will refer to this every now and then. Let's see here. M808B Scorpion MBT, or Massive Bacon and Tomato. The Scorpion main battle tank. Oh! is
Yeah.
primarily an anti-vehicle weapons platform, but it also has very high anti-infantry capabilities. Its ceramic titanium armor makes it nearly invulnerable to small arms fire, but its deep dead zone, the area within which fire from the tank's gun cannot hit targets, puts it at risk from enemy anti-tank infantry. Up to 4 soldiers may ride on and fire from the Scorpion's track pods. Riding on a tank is always hazardous and should be done only when the advantages outweigh the risks.
So, there's a lot to unpack there. One of those things being, obviously, whoever, wrote that little manual entry doesn't know anything about tanks. Dead zone is really interesting because, for a main battle tank, the Scorpion has amazing gun depression and gun elevation. Like, look at that.
That's pretty
absurd.
close.
And Abrams wishes it could do that, right? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. So we have the main gun. It's good. It's powerful. The issue with it takes actually a pretty long time to reload compared to later games. It's also not very accurate, and that was a bad shot to show that, but maybe it's playing nice right now. You'll see later, it's not the most accurate thing in the world. It also has a machine gun that you can use.
Pretty standard for a main battle tank. Pretty fair. You got your jump seats, which, the AI will use, co-op partners can use. Which actually calls attention to these track pods, as they are referred to in the manual.
Yeah.
So, not a terrible idea for a tank. There are actually some real-world tank designs that were similar. There was a tank called the Chick and Hen, which was like a prototype that never really gathered enough steam to become a production model. We can throw up some pictures. It's actually pretty cool. But the thing about having independent track pods on a tank is that it helps with off-roading. It could even potentially help with ground clearance. But it makes the tank really complicated and hard to fix.
I'd imagine.
Which, if you know anything about the military, they're not fans of that, unless, of course, you're the Air Force. But enough about the tank. Another thing I wanted to call attention to was the slidey ice physics for the Warthog, which we get in this little area.
Not on foot, though.
No, not on foot. That's what I wanted to point out. It's interesting that they make the Warthog handle differently, but the player is, just as much traction as ever. Hang on, I'll see if I can really get a slide in. Johnson's coming for a ride.
I wonder.
Are you trying to shoot me?
Seeing if I could. Yeah, also, different from the other games. In Halo 1, the side gunner, is in first person. And unlike the back gunner, their aim is actually affected by the driving. Not totally, but here I'm not, moving the mouse at all. You can see it locks in the same position until I hit the final bit of the rotation I can do. Which is different than in other games.
Well, you see, that's a dead angle, which is what they were trying to get at in the manual entry for the Scorpion. The Scorpion doesn't really have those. But yeah, slidey ice physics. Lots of fun.
Pretty fun. There's also
our first chance to take a look at, getting our hands on some enemy equipment.
Yeah. This is the first and one of 2 operatable Covenant vehicles in the game, the Ghost. It's a little hover bike.
And it creates the interesting distinction that gets carried forward throughout the series of the Covenant vehicles all hover, and that lets them strafe and maneuver and do all sorts of crazy stuff. But generally they're very fragile, and
they are, and in fact, we can see neither the Warthog nor the Scorpion have health meters, but in the top left there, the Ghost does.
Sure does.
Covenant vehicles would end up firing faster and a little more reliably in later games. See, this is firing both of its guns at once, and it's definitely going all over the place. Much better for up-close stuff. Also, the Ghost hovers a bit higher in Halo 1 than it does in subsequent games.
Which is... They really shouldn't have ever lowered its hover height.
No, it feels the best in Halo 1. It has some control issues, of course, but I think actually taking into account how it works, it's probably the best of the Halo games. Everything else feels a little too low to the ground, and trying to go over a hill and finding you're scraping the bottom of it with a hover vehicle is a little weird.
So not that you can see it from your perspective, but the Scorpion is demonstrating exactly what you were trying to point out with the accuracy issues. It's a hoot and a half, let me tell you. And it got slightly better in later games.
Yeah. Halo 2 really overhauled the entire vehicle presentation. And for the better, overall, even though I don't like some of the handling changes they made. Nothing is ever quite as loose and splashy as the Halo 1 Warthog.
Halo 2 is also notable for kind of overcorrecting on the vehicle balance in a lot of cases as well.
Oh, yeah.
But, again, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Whoa! Oh no, Johnson!
Oh no.
He died as he lived. Screaming. Ah, lovely. See? Now you get to see the wonderful accuracy of the score. Oh, there we go!
Yeah.
There we go.
And
Point
we
blank.
will get a chance to fly one of these later.
Yes, that's the Banshee, which I think we've stated before. Oh, hey, look! Hunters.
All three vehicles. Hunters. Haven't gotten tired of
a
those.
pair of them. Well,
Oh, you
he's
know
gone.
what? Johnson dropped his sniper rifle.
Oh! Bit
I
of a
see.
bad trade on my part.
Well, let's see if I can get this... Okay, here we go. Now we have the plasma shots bouncing off its shield, which is... That guy went down real easy. This is heroic still, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I did hit him with a shell right before
Oh,
you started
okay.
fighting him. That might
I
have
thought-
softened him up.
I thought you'd missed and he'd hit you with the fuel rod.
Well, I didn't hit him directly, so maybe the splash damage collected him up a bit. But yeah, we're on heroic. Do you want to trade vehicles?
Oh, sure.
So I actually didn't think you could use the jump seats in Halo 1 as a player. I thought that was always something for the AI until the second game.
Nope, you can. And here we are, back into the 4-story high Forerunner hallways, which, oh wow, lucky, you could actually drive two of these Scorpions side by side.
I wonder
But
if we'll get some
not-
dialogue from our lovely AI assistant.
Not for very long. You have to get out
Yeah.
and press a button, because it has to unload the entire area behind you as it's loading this. Just an extra little buffer.
Oh, look
And
at
what
those
is-
spark effects.
What is with these weird little speed bumps?
Well, they don't want people speeding in their perfectly square tunnels.
I guess. Now we're back indoors. Yeah, as you can see, the dead zone is kind of, non-existent.
Oh, it's such a limited armored vehicle, I reckon.
So limited. Here, I'm gonna try to snipe this thing. Will I get it? I will. Cool. I'm having really good luck with this Scorpion tonight.
I certainly wasn't.
Are those... more hunters?
Oh. So, with the full roster of the Covenant available to us by this point in the game, we're halfway through the game, right?
Yeah,
Or
this is
thereabout.
level 5 of 10.
So, you know, they've kind of run out of tricks. Like, the vehicles show up, and then they've got one more combat encounter trick up their bag for the rest of the campaign. Now it's just various combinations of Grunt Elite and, oh look, 2 hunters.
Yep. Grunts, elites, jackals, and 2 hunters to make you slow down a little bit.
But this sort of like vehicle gameplay, the interplay with the Marines fighting the Covenant, the wide open
Ooh.
spaces. Ooh, unfortunate. But the wide open spaces, as Reckon stated at the beginning of the episode, you know, the first time you go through this is some of its best. You know, this is Halo at some of its best. But of course, you know, we're rapidly approaching the point where they kind of had to make a second half of the game and didn't have a whole lot of time.
And we'll see what they do to mitigate that, because there is a pretty big shakeup coming that everybody's probably yelling at us about. But we'll talk about that. It'll give me
we will have plenty to say. Don't
a
worry.
real torrent of words about whatever's coming next. A real tidal wave of opinions. A veritable tsunami.
We'll also get to have some fun discussions about the trends of video game design as a whole. It'll be good. It'll be a grand old time. But for now, we have to go through this identical. I guess it's like a blast door, not really an airlock.
Yeah,
I'm really not sure
this
why
area?
it's there.
What is this area? Let's ask that question again. What the heck is this area?
Well,
it's enclosed, so this is just a big cave. It has 2 bridges over a chasm, but this platform we're on is like entirely artificial. So why did they need bridges when they could have just built a floor? It's not like this is a bridge over 2 cliff faces, right?
we have been shown that the Pelican can fly through the vast tunnel network that honeycombs the ring. So maybe this is some sort of marshalling area. But there is something worth pointing out. This is very similar to a room we spoke about in the second episode. And that is remember the light bridge that we crossed?
Yeah.
Well, this is decidedly not a light bridge. This is
That's a good point.
flesh and blood bridge. So why was that bridge a hologram and this one isn't? Something to really, think about, sort of chew on. I don't know. Hey, if you're watching this and you work for Bungie, contact us. Tell us what's going on. Oh!
Cool.
The lovely co-op teleportation system. So they put these ghosts here with these 2 elites, and if you're not quick enough on the draw, they'll jump in and start giving you a rough time. And that's more of that diegetic enemies implied to be doing things when you run across them sort of stuff that, we got familiar with in Unreal and
So
other games mimicked.
let me interrupt you there, because now we're in this, and this hallway is broken, but like, it's not that it's caved in, it's that this has been like carved away to make room for what? How did it... what? Also, you can't destroy the spirit dropships in Halo 1, I don't believe.
No, that would be something that would show up later in the series.
You can't even destroy their gun.
Nope. The drop... Should we talk about the dropship turrets now, or should we save that for later?
I mean, feel free. We're gonna be on the receiving end of them later, I believe.
Oh, we're gonna be on the receiving end of them so much as this cooperative conversation series advances. So the dropships have point defense / suppressive fire providing turrets on them, on the bottom of them. That's pretty reasonable. And they will shoot at the player to sort of, make you put your head down while it's delivering its troops, so you can't just kill them all as they try and jump out.
Pretty fair thing.
In Halo 1, they're... You know, they do a decent job of shooting at you without being laser accurate. They make you keep your head down, but they're also not a real threat. And, you know, I'm getting at something here, but I'll save it for a later game.
They don't fire really that fast. Their damage is
No.
spread out across 3 projectiles.
I would honestly
It's-
say that the dropship turrets in Halo 1 were the best they ever were. Because they do their job, and their job is to make you pay attention and go for cover.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hey, look, another Wraith. And another Ghost. Spooky. Oh, well, he's
Get
gone.
exercised. I don't think we've brought this up yet, actually. The Covenant naming scheme has a lot of ethereal entity, sort of...
We did mention it, but you know what? For the sake of the gag, throw up just a list real quick. Have it scroll by.
Let's see. Whoa, goodbye. It disappeared. We have the Ghost, the Banshee, the Spirit, the Shade, the Spectre,
Phantoms,
the Phantom,
Revenants.
Revenants.
Eventually, yeah.
There's a Lich in the later games.
What was the one in Halo 2 that shows up exactly once?
Oh god, those little things. I forget.
It was on the list that flew by. I don't know. Someone will yell at us in the comments.
Yeah, it's there.
But yeah, the Covenant get their spooky boy naming scheme. The Humies get a animal-based naming convention. Although, you know, they're not consistent. It goes all up and down the insect, animal, and arachnid kingdom.
Yeah, I've actually played Halo Wars, and you have like the Wildcat and the Wolverine or whatever.
So, you know, they kept consistent, which is cool. I have not played Halo Wars.
Now,
I
there
hear
is...
the first one's okay.
The first one's very okay. It makes Halo's ongoing comparison to another kind of sci-fi 3-faction RTS very on the nose. I see Skelzer has opted for the secret bonus room.
Entirely optional.
There is one notable outlier in the Covenant naming convention, and that's the Scarab, which isn't really
Right.
which isn't really a supernatural entity. It's a bug. It seems like it would be more a human thing, right?
Well, I mean, you could make some sort of argument that the Scarab has some sort of supernatural significance, but I don't know. I feel like the names for the Covenant vehicles are supposed to be like the humans named them, and calling it a Scarab's kind of fair. It looks like one. You should jump out and join me in this room. There's a lot to talk about.
All right. Optional room. Ho. Wait, why did you not take the ghost though?
Well, because I wanted to use this.
Whoa,
but
be careful.
We can go. Oh,
You stopped.
I did.
You stopped
I
moving.
did stop. I shouldn't have done that. All right, so welcome to the super secret optional bonus room with super secret enemy. Oh, there he is. Here it comes.
Goodbye.
Oh, he's gone. So yeah, they put a sneaky boy with a sword in here. It's pretty funny. They also put a transparent floor. It kind of looks like a reflection at first, but then you realize that no, it's actually just, you know.
I'm not sure if it's supposed to be a reflection using that old trick, or if it is supposed to be like we're on glass, because we don't have reflections.
No, I think it's supposed to be we're on glass, because if you look up, the pipe curves away. If you look down,
Yeah,
it does not.
that's fair. Good
I think
spot.
Yeah. I think they're supposed to be sort of like implying some sort of important function. That, you know, it's like, ooh, it's machinery, it's doing stuff. But
Yeah. And
again,
honestly,
we never really get an explanation.
We don't know what this room is. It doesn't have anything in it, but this is the kind of thing that Halo 1 needed more of in the environment. Just like places to go that didn't particularly matter. Just little extra bits of the environment. Because, like, this doesn't do anything. It's not gameplay relevant, there's no objective in here, but it does show that, like, oh, you can go here. It's not just another solid gray brick.
And there's a whole argument for philosophy in game design too that comes in here when we bring this up, and that's like, why make something if a player might not experience it, right? Like, if half your players are going to miss something in a game, can you justify including it?
Yes.
Obviously, it's a game-by-game basis. I would say for the most part, yes, absolutely.
Like, when it's something that helps really extend the environment and flesh out the world, absolutely.
Obviously, you've got to do the juggling act of, like, budget and time and manpower versus...
Oh, sure.
Like, realizing your vision. But I do feel that, like, for the most part, it's always worth going the extra mile and throwing in that optional stuff, because it's the stuff people remember. Not necessarily very vividly, right? But it's like, oh, that you could do stuff in that game. You could go places.
Yeah, it helps. Again, in the first episode, we were talking these giant environments, but they're all empty. There's nothing to go and see, and that is something to go and see, and it's cool. It's just a little thing. It's something. It's anything, right?
You get to diverge from the guided tour of the Halo.
I thought the Covenant had eliminated all the Marine forces.
Well, Marines. Now we get to see all the jump seats get utilized.
Yeah. For a little bit until they all die.
Survive, yeah.
Oh, more hunters. Oh boy.
Oh look, it's a pair.
I'm surprised.
Look sharp, boys. Enemy dropship inbound. Let's move.
Man up, Marines, quickly. Taking a lot of... There we go.
Nice. You know, I've heard that tank beats hunter.
Yeah, it has been known to. So, an interesting thing about these Marines that we just collected up, these stragglers, is that two of them are using Covenant weapons.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, that's them trying to give us the implication that things are dire, resources are stretched thin. You know, these Marines can't even find ammunition for their own weapons. Oh wait, what's that over there? Hey Marine, you want an assault rifle? Maybe something standard issue.
Can't find ammunition for their government-issued firearms, but there's just a functional tank sitting in the middle of a canyon.
Which is what I was getting at with the whole, like, Halo tries to have it both ways, where it's like, oh, scattered resistance, right? But then, you know, they're conducting deliberate operations, which we'll see more of in a little bit, next stage, next episode. They're still conducting deliberate, like, you know, they're sending out strike teams in Pelicans and stuff like that. And it's like, are they marshalling? Is this people working independently?
Handle those guns.
Master Chief?
We don't know. We're not told, and we never will be.
Well, in the supplemental material.
Oh, there you go again.
There I go. But that's, you know, that's we're starting to really see what I'm getting at, where they have it both ways, or try to. And,
Yeah. I'm about to die
it's one
again.
of those. Yeah.
I'm not doing very well here.
It's one of those things where you know, if you don't really care, you won't really notice it. But, you know, I'm an attentive person some of the time. He is out of here.
Fortunately, I don't have a good banshee killing weapon.
Did we ever stop and show off the rocket launcher here?
No. You grabbed. Well, we had it in the last mission.
Yeah, but we never really stopped and called attention to it. We just sort of were like, yeah, rocket launcher.
2 shots, has the same zoom level as the pistol, no lock-on capabilities in Halo 1.
Nope. Rockets are pretty slow, actually.
Yeah.
But it's worth actually taking a look at the rocket launcher. So he says 2 shots. That is because it has these 2 tubes and a big old barrel that rotates the mechanism. Anyone who's ever worked in the military will look at this thing and scream in horror, because just having to ruck around an AT-4 is hard enough, and this thing's absolutely twice the weight.
Well, we are a Spartan too.
Yeah, we're a cyborg super soldier. How much of a cyborg we are? Up in the air, but we're certainly strong. The manual, when we read through, did it mention that the weight of the Chief's armor?
No. No, it did
I can't remember. I think that was on the back of the box, maybe, or something. I remember a quote about
the back of the Halo PC box is long gone in my family.
Unfortunate, but I believe there is a mention somewhere of the Chief's armor being half a ton. That might have changed later on, but I distinctly remember with Halo 1 someone stating that the Mark 5 Mjolnir is half a ton of armor.
That's a lot.
That's really heavy. So hey, because I'm a tank nerd, right? I mean, this isn't exclusively a tank nerd thing, but I'm going to mention something. There is a factor in the design of armored vehicles that one always has to consider: ground pressure. Reckon. Ground pressure is how much force an armored vehicle exerts on the ground due to its weight, and the distribution of that weight via treads or wheels or whatever else you want to use, right?
Sure.
It's important because if you have a big heavy tank and then you give it really skinny treads with, like, you know, really deep blades, it'll chew up concrete.
Yeah.
Which obviously you don't want to do that if you've got to drive on your own roads and stuff like that.
Well, I know there's also... Go ahead and open the store. I know there's also... If you are driving through an urban area, there might be sewers, which are underneath the street.
Yep.
Which means that if you were... Go on. Go on.
No, I just...
Follow the arrows. It's Halo, you gotta follow the arrows.
You're
Halo
right, I
has
don't want to
hallways.
teleport you. Yeah, that's all. But yeah, sewers, uneven terrain, mud, that sort of thing. You got to worry about that stuff, right? Ground pressure is important. Now, why is Skelzor talking about ground pressure? Because half a ton of weight is a lot of force to concentrate in, you know, a boot print.
Yes. Humans are notably bipedal creatures and typically, not always, have 2 legs with 1 foot each upon which to put that weight. Uh-oh, I'm gonna die again.
So you're trying to tell me that humans are featherless bipeds?
Yes.
But anyway,
don't die.
Ground pressure. Yeah, ground pressure. So if the Chief really does weigh half a ton, which again, Skelzor might be misremembering, he might be crazy, but I'm pretty sure it was somewhere. I'll go looking for it after we finish recording.
I mean, you could always just take a look at this helpful infographic on the screen.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, it's kind of impressive that the Chief can walk around on, like, dirt and grass without just sinking up to the waist.
Well, not even that, but you, right now, are standing on a pane of glass. What the hell is this stuff made out of?
Bonk. Bonk.
And
Bonk.
jumping introduces its own pressure because when you land, you're effectively heavier than you are when you're standing. Because of the force...
But it's kind of unfair because we're calling attention to this, right? But Bungie really...
Oh, it
never
doesn't
paid
matter.
attention. No.
I was never going to bring this up as a criticism against Halo.
No,
I mean,
I'm
like,
not
Skell,
criticizing.
you wanna talk about Master Chief weighing, 1,000 pounds or whatever? You play fucking MechWarrior.
Yeah.
There is no way a Mad Cat, let alone a fucking Atlas, would ever be able to stand and support its own
we've
weight,
gotten
let alone
twisted.
on a city street.
we've gotten it twisted because I'm not trying to dunk on Bungie with this one, right? I'm pointing it out because it's an interesting aberration that further illustrates my point where they write by the seat of their pants. Because they say that the Chief is big and heavy and his armor is super impressive. And then in the later games, he's like, well, never in the game. There's stuff, you can find clips. I think Halo Wars has a cutscene where Spartans are doing, like, gymnastic routines and flipping around and all that.
Well, that's something that would come later. Of course,
Yeah.
you know, Reach is my favorite Halo game, and there's no way that a Spartan should be able to use anything approaching a jetpack that size. The fucking thrust on that thing must be enough to launch like 5 space shuttles at once.
And yeah, that's the thing. It's one of those things where it's like they say one thing, right, and they obviously don't really worry about it going forward. Because remember when I pointed out how Cortana is implied to be an AI purpose-built for the Autumn?
Oh, you don't even
Or
have
the
to
working-
imply that. The opening cutscene says that. The manual says that. It is an explicit fact in Halo 1 that she is the Pillar of Autumn's shipboard AI.
Just keep that in mind, dear viewer, as well as talking about how they seem to have a prior established relationship. Keep that in mind also, dear viewer.
Well, that I always attributed to, like, Master Chief served on the Pillar of Autumn for some time, and as a Spartan too, he was, like, privy to being able to hold more personal conversations rather than just being like, what's the weather like on my hometown today, Cortana? And she'll be like, it is currently sunny, 85 degrees, chance of rain at 7 p.m. But
So
Chief would
Cortana
be like,
literally serving her
is-
function in real life.
but, you know, the Chief would be like,
Yeah.
hey, Cortana, do you like it when it rains? And Cortana would be like, I think rain's pretty, but I've only ever seen it through the Matrix filter. I can't
God,
tell.
I hope you're not quoting a game I haven't played.
I can't tell if that rain really looks like rain. I can tell the frequency at which it's falling and the force of each individual droplet, but I don't know if it feels like rain. Ahem.
Oh no.
Sorry, I had something
I've
in my
got a lot-
throat,
yeah,
something
yeah.
disc-shaped with the number 4 on it.
I've got a lot to look forward to, don't I?
Oh, you've got so much to look forward
So,
to.
I don't think we've mentioned it, or if we have, we're going to mention it again. So I have played all of the Halo games except for 4 and 5. Oh, and obviously the Halo Wars games, I mentioned that.
Well, Halo as far as the shooters starring
Yeah.
Spartans.
Yeah, I've played the mainline series, sans 4 and 5, and reckon is very excited for me to experience Halo 4 when it eventually
Oh, I'm
releases.
so excited for you to play Halo
as part
4
of the
and
collection.
hear that story for the first time.
That's so yeah, you get to look forward to that, my friends. You get to look forward to me experiencing that one blind. You also get to look forward to Reckon here experiencing ODST blind.
Yeah, I've never played that. I always was like, I should pick up a used copy of ODST, and then I never did.
So
And then
I'm actually
then
equally
it was
excited.
added. You know, then it was added to the Master Chief Collection. I was like, oh, maybe I should eventually buy like an Xbox One. They're probably cheap now. I could get one used. Pick up a copy of the Master Chief Collection for $30 or whatever. It would probably be $200 well spent. I never did. And
No.
then, you know, Halo Master Chief Collection got released on PC, and it's like, okay, guess that plan's out of the window. I'll just play it here on Steam.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's gonna be a wonderful experience because you get to experience what I consider to be the strongest campaign in a Halo game. Which is a contentious opinion, but I think it's the strongest. Maybe not narratively, but gameplay-wise at the very least. And you get to be experiencing it on a PC, so you won't have to try and play the game with a controller. Won't that be fun?
Yeah. I did... Now, that's not entirely fair. I did play roughly a quarter of the first level of ODST at a friend's house, split screen on an Xbox One. And
Not the best way to experience that.
yeah, I'll be honest, it was not fun, and I was like, man, I can't see what I'm doing. Can we just play something else?
Yeah, no, that's 100% a fair cop.
Oh my god, please cover me, I'm dying.
Oh, it's an Invisiboy.
I've died so many
no.
times.
Can we
But
get
anyway,
a
let's...
rolling counter on
Oh god, I don't
the
even
events?
want to. But let's see. Let's get off talking about games we'll cover eventually, and back to
Yep.
Assault on the Control Room, which we're
on
back
some
to
familiar
bridges.
here, yeah.
There are two now, and there's enemies over there that we can't shoot terribly well. It's kind of annoying.
Well, we digressed, but in our defense, if the game's going to stop caring about its level design, we should probably stop caring about its level design.
Yeah.
Was that too harsh? I don't know.
Well, we're not quite to 2 levels from now yet.
No, we're not.
It is
That was
2
maybe a
levels.
little-
I always forget what order these levels come in because they're just so bad after a point. Hey, look, more hallways with arrows on them. Let's follow the arrows. Skelzer, let's follow the arrows.
Hey, appropriately
Acclaimed.
posted signage. Come on.
Acclaimed AAA video game developer Bungie resorting to fucking glowing arrows on the floor to tell us where to go because we've been in this room for the 5th time now.
You know what's like doubly hilarious about that? Valve had already like really established and entrenched the whole like using color and light to draw the eye and direct you forward. Like Half-Life 1, you know, for good or for ill, did a really good job of leading you around for most of the game.
Yeah.
There are some outliers.
There are some outliers. I'm not a huge fan of Half-Life 1. I think it's not great. I bet that's a surprise. But
Yeah.
I find it more of a very sloppily made first-person platformer than it is a good, solid shooter. But it did things that are important, and we have to acknowledge that. And Halo's taking a lot from it as far as its presentation of, like, you know, first-person, people talk to you. You know, you have these areas that
Unbroken narrative.
are supposed to be. See, that's look, the same room. You see these areas that are supposed to be places, but it's really let down by Bungie's ineptitude of never actually explaining what any of these areas are. And whereas you might have like a hallway in, you know, a cafeteria next to the weird lab in the Black Mesa facility, you always know where you are in Half-Life. I never know where I am in Halo. I'm either in a gray hallway, in a purple hallway, or outside. I could never tell you what that location is.
It is harder to make alien architecture. Like, you could argue that it's harder to make alien architecture. It's like, well, should it? Should they have, like, a coffee break room? What would that look like? They're aliens, you know? Oh, hey.
Yeah, I just went on
How you
ahead. I don't really want to...
Yep. No, that's fine.
Hey, look, is
you know,
this the
that's-
same bridge?
yeah.
Is this the bridge we were on
Yes.
earlier? It is. Okay,
It's,
so, like...
it's the one next to the one, yeah.
Yeah.
So we've looped around. But anyway, I brought up Half-Life because Bungie have tried to take a lot of lessons from Half-Life, except the ones that Valve taught
matter.
us about the ones about signposting for the player. So they have those big arrows on the floor, which is kind of funny because when we cross through again, I'll point it out again. They have a big flashing light outside the door, and you know what? That's just as good as an arrow.
Yeah, it would have been
That'll
fun.
catch your attention. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you know, they don't have flashing lights in the hallway, but they could have added them. Like, it's... Do you have a pistol?
Nope.
Oh, I'm
I have a
gone.
sniper
Bye-bye.
rifle. Oh.
I have perished.
So
I
yeah,
did
we're
learn that,
getting
yeah.
the epic music with the strings, and it's like, what
Yeah.
are we doing? We're walking across a bridge while being shot at by enemies we really just don't want to interact with.
Good old
It's
Marty
good music.
O'Donnell. Yeah. It's
I like violins.
yeah. There's a lot to be said for the strength of using strings in your track, right? Especially the cello, the violin.
Yeah, I mean, just listen to this clip of this really incredible piece that I always love going back to whenever possible. Oh wait, shit, that was Bloodborne, I'm sorry.
Ah, yeah, see. But that's, that's... people like the sound. And they're right to. We mentioned, borrowing from Aliens, and that we called attention to that one track that's totally just from Aliens.
Yeah, but I mean, that's good. You have the big cymbal crash there at the end of the bridge. But it's not
That's pretty
very... It's not very exciting. You're just walking across a bridge, you fight an invisible guy. But then, where do we go? Where does this lead? A fucking octagonal room. The same one. This is...
Yeah.
Ah! I hate it. I hate this level. When it's good, it's good. When it's bad. And it's just on and off, like flipping a fucking light switch.
Well, it's okay, reckon. Surely Bungie wouldn't force us to, trudge through it more than the once.
Yeah, the only saving grace of this level is that you only go through it once.
So again, flashing light. I mean, arrow flashing here, but...
There are invisible guys down here.
Invisiboys! Oh, I'm dead. Oh no! Oh! I didn't know
Nope,
you could
saved
dodge
you.
that.
Nope, you
Nice.
almost, I was a little slow, but you can see the energy sword actually blow up there.
Yeah. So the implication being there's some sort of dead man switch to stop it from being captured by the enemy.
Which is
That's
odd, because if you remember that E3 demo we've showcased a couple times now, it ends with Master Chief carrying one of them. Whoops.
Yeah, quite curious. Again, rush development, and we're not using that as an excuse, but like that is the reason for some of these, omissions, inclusions. Good shot.
Thanks. Yeah, breakable glass, that's fun.
Yeah. Breakable glass is always fun. It's also probably the most interaction
Why'd you do that?
you're going to get with... I'm trying to blow him up. Hang on, I'll corral him back to you. Oh, there you go. Breakable glass is probably the most interesting environmental interaction this game has, aside from pressing buttons and getting cutscenes.
I just remember in Unreal, they had that pickup that was the Nolly Healing Fruit seed, and you could throw it down, and it would grow over time into a health pickup. Halo obviously doesn't have an inventory system, but it could have used something like native fruit that gives you health bonuses, right? Like maybe 2 pips of health, or 3 instead of a full heal. But it would have been...
a little difficult, yeah.
Would it have been difficult?
No, difficult to eat through the helmet was where I was going with that.
I don't know, maybe you could, like, mush it up and shove it in one of the exhaust ports. I don't know.
Master Chef is a cyborg. Maybe he can, he has some sort of, like, protein intake catheter. I don't know.
Oh, okay, we have to do it. We have to do it. I'm stealing this. I'm sorry, Skell.
Yep. No, go for it. Go for it. Go for it. I'll try to keep him off it.
Yeah.
Yep, go.
Woo! Rite of passage.
I have perished.
Okay, well, I will do my darndest here.
Don't blow up.
I'm trying not to. You haven't given me an amazing starting point, I'm sorry to say.
So, the Banshee. Oop. Really doesn't want me to respawn. There we go. The Banshee. She flies.
Yeah. It's a single-person light attack craft. It's got the same gun as the Ghost, but it also has an alternative fuel rod gun shot that arcs a little bit.
So technically you get to use the fuel rod gun in this game.
Yeah, technically. It's on a cooldown, same as the tank. You can see the little pips there.
It's a lot of fun.
It's pretty maneuverable in Halo 1. Halo 2 onward, we kind of reduce its maneuverability. You can hover a lot more easily in 1. You can actually even kind of climb yourself back up. There we go.
Does it still do the thing where if you pull back, it stops dead in the air and starts falling?
It doesn't really start falling. It falls slowly. It decelerates and elevates down a little slowly, but it doesn't really have a dead stop. Like, I'm holding back now, and it's just kind of... It has more of a forward momentum, and of course, later games would give it a boost function that it doesn't have right now, as well as dodging.
Oh, hey, look, more hunters.
Cool, love it.
Hey, you can give them a taste of their own medicine, I'm sure. And he's gone. I had a pistol.
So, this is something you don't really... You're not technically supposed to be able to use right here. Obviously, in single player, the next place you have to go is right over here. But we can't get one for skill right now, sadly. So you can definitely sequence break a little bit, but in multiplayer it doesn't work unless you're able to run real fast to the other one on the bridge. Banshee has an interesting design. Also in the promotional video there, these little fins on the back turned as you did, but they don't in the final game.
They would later.
Yeah. Makes a shrieking noise, kind of like a Banshee.
Probably why it's called that. Further evidence that, like, these things, the names are just designations the Marines give them.
Yeah. And there's a little place up here. Unfortunately, nothing to do with it. That door is locked.
For now.
But, you know, it's a place. Alright, let's get out of this. Assault on the control room's a long level, and we don't want to really drag it out much more.
So, the way he jumped out there, it's interesting that it's got that sort of, like, backwards opening thing going on. If you get up close and look, you can actually see the Chief's feet sticking out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a sealed cockpit, which...
Oh, cool, look where we are.
Oh, hey, it's this room again. I love this room. But yeah, it's interesting that the Banshee isn't by default a sealed cockpit, because it's being used by a very interstellar capable military force.
Yeah. They're definitely not sealed for vacuum.
Oh no. And it's not like the elites wear spacesuits.
No, there's a lot of open skin on their combat suits.
So I'm gonna go on a little, not a rant. I'm just gonna sort of. It really kind of gets my garters when you have science fiction. Oh, yep. It really kind of gets my garters in science fiction when you have interstellar capable, like, organizations, nations, whatever, right? Aliens, humans, doesn't matter. People are flying around space, right? And they're not wearing sealed suits. It bothers me. Because, you might not know this. You probably do. Space is really dangerous. It's, like, even at its safest, you could die at any moment. And having no air, or even worse, a sudden depressurization causing your lungs to be sucked out of your mouth, very real possibility in space.
Oh, yeah.
You've also got things like fires.
Which is weird, because we saw Captain Keyes smoking a pipe in the opening sequence. Which,
we did!
Not something you want to do in an oxygen-rich environment.
So, that's something that's always kind of bothered me. You'll actually, in later entries in the series, you'll probably hear me say you should have kept your lid on or keep your lid on.
Let's get up there.
That's because it really also gets my
Commandeer one of those
garters.
ghosts. We're going to need the firepower.
It also really gets my garters when a character is wearing a space suit that
you
is
should,
capable of being a sealed environment, and they take their helmet off so you can see their face.
Yeah, it leads to a lot of preventable deaths. From
Definitely not foreshadowing anything.
from some kind of enemy that uses a plasma-based weaponry.
So yeah, that's one of my personal pet peeves. You learned something about Skelzor today. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah, and I mean, to the credit, you know, we never do see Master Chief's face. It's at the very end of Halo, he takes his helmet off, but you know,
Well,
it's
he's in a spacefaring craft.
yeah, which is fine. I mean, you can't have people. You can't have people in a giant ship such as like the Pillar of Autumn run around with full spacesuits on all the time. They don't even wear spacesuits all the time on the ISS, and that's like way less advanced than something like the Pillar of Autumn's supposed to be.
It's true. No, it is true. But at the same time, on the ISS, they do all sorts of drills. Like, they're always just ready, and spacesuits are always available to them in case of a depressurization, right?
And I'm not sure that wouldn't be the case in the future. Like, this is 530 years in the future, right?
Yeah.
We definitely have better systems by then.
So
and this is me defending Halo's world building.
Yeah, no, I did say that this is a pet peeve, right? Like, I understand that there are justifications for it. It's just you see it, and they don't even try and justify it at all the time, and it's like, erg. But I'll stop harping on it. I didn't want it to be a rant.
It's like the same thing saying, like, wow, I can't believe everybody's walking around on this ship not wearing a life vest 24/7.
No, that's fair. No, that is fair. But the thing that got me onto this in the first place is that the elites are part of a military organization that travels like between. Ooh, ouch. They travel between star systems. You would think the default military dress for them would include some sort of pressurized helmet at the least. It does not.
I mean, if you expect them to jump into interstellar space like any second, but they're on the surface of a world.
They are. I would argue that because in Halo it's shown, both for humans and Alien Covenant fellas, it's shown that it's actually pretty easy to go from being on the surface of a planet to being in space. There's some pretty interesting stuff later in the series with pelicans and other vehicles.
Well, yes. Alright, those are my last 2 sniper bullets. Oh, I'd rather carry an empty sniper rifle than a needler. I'll be honest.
That's totally fair. But yeah, it's shown that it's pretty easy to get up into space in the Halo universe. I don't know. Again, it's a dumb pet peeve. I'm not saying I'm entirely justified in it. But unrelated to that, hey look, it's another sword boy.
Yeah.
This one's visible.
The gold elites, still elites.
Yeah. But they're gold and shiny. I perished, by the way.
I was debating whether or not I should annoy people by calling them yellow elites. But I think even that's a little too petty.
So here's a fun room in terms of visual aesthetic. It's more interesting than most of the boxy corridors that we've gone through.
And yet it still is a giant, wide, tall, empty corridor.
Ends in a 90-degree angle.
I stole this off your corpse, by the way. Hope you don't mind.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely fine.
Scanning. Covenant forces in the vicinity have been eliminated. Let's move on to Halo's control center.
Oh, it's time for plot. So we arrive at the titular control room that we assaulted.
Yep. Lots of doors here.
Well, you gotta guard your control room.
This is it. Halo's control center.
Pretty elaborate hologram compared to the one in the quiet mapmaker's room.
Hey, do you think that a movie came out just before this game was made? Or it had something that looked like this? About like a...
Nah, you're
It's fucking Cerebro.
you're crazy. You're crazy. No.
That terminal, try there.
Oh, it's a good thing they have USB-C on this ring.
You all right?
Never been better. You can't imagine the wealth of information. The knowledge, so much, so fast. It's glorious.
That's
So-
concerning.
What sort of weapon is it?
What are you talking about?
Let's stay focused. Halo, how do we use it against the Covenant?
This ring isn't a cudgel, you barbarian. It's something else. Something much more important. The Covenant were right. This ring... it's Forerunner. Give me a second to access. Yes, the Forerunner built this place, what they called a fortress world, in order to... Wait. No, that can't be. Oh, those Covenant fools. They must have known. There must have been signs.
Slow down. You're losing me.
The Covenant
Me too.
found something. Buried in this ring. Something horrible. And now, they're afraid.
Something buried. Where?
The captain. We've got to stop the captain.
Keys? What
The
do we...
weapons cache he's looking for. It's not really... We can't let him get inside.
I don't understand.
There's no time. Get out of here. Find keys. Stop him. Before it's too late.
You know, we start the next level in a pelican, so couldn't we have, like, come back while we were waiting for that and have Cortana explain something to us? Or grabbed her so we can take her along?